Good morning, guys. I hope you made it safely into the weekend. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day. The issue today is the futility of Obama's bipartisan approach. Before I come to the point today, I wonder whether you have some information on a news bit I can't figure out. Huffington Post in their Friday newsletter published a report that Obama is looking for a Commerce Secretary on Craigslist. I immediately looked up Craigs to apply for the jobs, but I couldn't find it. Did Obama fill the position? Of course, with my luck, that was Friday the 13th. Now, what I have in mind today will make you a near expert in behavioral sciences. But I have to ask you to stick with me for about 19 seconds and not get frustrated or intimidated for that matter. Agreed? Please. A few years ago, sometime in the 1760s, give or take a couple, a Presbyterian minister came up with a formula, Bayes' theorem, that expanded the probability theory, but was only published after his death. I urge you not to be intimidated. Bayes' rule is no rocket science. I have translated the formula into plain English. Here goes. If a set of events has the same outcome as a previous set, the probability increases that future sets will conform. It couldn't be simpler, and while you may or may not have known about Bayes' rule, you instinctively applied the principle when analyzing situations. I use Bayes' rule besides pattern and frequency analysis when investigating congressional corruption, for example. My team investigated 52 senators and congressmen and found that 50 had taken money from parties to litigation in a pattern that matched the unique litigation event pattern, strongly suggesting nexus between the payment and the litigation. The remaining two cases involved litigation pending in state courts, and we haven't had time to look closer into it. Take as an example the case of United States versus Oracle in context with the hostile takeover of PeopleSoft. Oracle never before, never again paid money to Barbara Boxer, the senator in whose jurisdiction the case was pending. Now, Barbara Boxer has a history of taking money from litigation parties, both before Oracle and afterwards. Sure enough, the case was dismissed because the judge ruled that the experts testifying had not convinced him that the takeover would have a negative effect on competition. Please. You're a neat pliers to put your pants on to understand that it had an impact on competition, for crying out loud. Look at another case that was pending in New York and evaluate the pattern. Here each event is followed within days by payments between $100,000 and $300,000 to the DNC, $300,000 after the dismissal. That case continued for many years, and every time a payment was made, it was followed or preceded by an adverse litigation event. If you ever have a suit pending, go to csi-jacksonville.com for more information on this epidemic that has given us a broken judicial system with the help of Congress. Once there, for example, click on Sensenbrenner, who received money from Goodyear's PAC in a pattern that matched the adverse events of the Ledbetter case to the dot on the I. Now that we have established the background, let's look at Obama's expectation of re-educating Washington via his bipartisan approach. Unless a major earth-shaking event occurs, it will not only not happen, but it will interfere with his programs. The reason being, the Republicans are not stupid. They do realize that if they cooperate, they will contribute to the success of Obama's policies and thereby ensure that they will lose even more seats. Hello, is anybody home? In turn, if they continue to obstruct every step of the way, They may just succeed in torpedoing his policies and have a good chance of picking up seats in the Senate. Now apply Bayes' rule to the situation, that is, to the partisan obstructionism, and you'll find that the probability on a scale from 0 to 1 is near 1. That is near certainty that they will continue that method having such strong incentive. Let's take another example, the Equal Pay Act. For as long as I can remember, Republicans have opposed equal pay for women, God knows why. Eventually the issue went to court. The leading case was Lily Ledbetter, who worked for 18 years for Goodyear Tire and Rubber, unknown to her for less pay than her male colleagues. When she eventually found out, she sued and won before the district court, only to be overturned by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. When I heard that, I was immediately suspicious because the 11th Circuit has a long history of accepting ex parte calls from senators and congressmen without advising the other party, ethically highly questionable. Moreover, I found the reasoning strange. The statutes had run because she had to file within 180 days from the time of the first incident of pay discrimination, abandoning the continuing tort doctrine or the tolling of the statutes pending discovery of the tort, and virtually impossible to meet since employers make it a condition to keep pay information confidential. So I looked up Goodyear's records of payments to elected officials, and guess what? I found that they had paid the usual suspect in a pattern that matched the unique adverse litigation event pattern to the dot on the I. Indeed, they had paid James Sensenbrenner, who himself has a long history of contacting courts ex parte, as is known from public documents, rarely to be followed by disclosure or recusal of the judge. The Goodyear payment pattern to Sensenbrenner continued into the time when the case was pending before the Supreme Court, which too abandoned two established doctrines that told the statutes. After Obama took control, Congress and Senate passed the Ledbetter Bill, the Equal Pay Act, over the no vote of all but 3 Republicans. Now here's the other side of Bayes' rule. For some reason, certain women continue voting for Republicans despite the fact that the Republicans are their declared enemies. You being an expert on behavioral sciences now, maybe you can enlighten me. Oh well, have a gorgeous weekend. We have the races here in Daytona. You can't even go to Walmart, which is so crowded that it is no longer fun to walk the aisles. Fortunately, Daytonians, and apparently the race crowd too, don't know how to operate the self-service machines. So checkout is pretty fast. Light at the end of the tunnel, if you know what I mean. See you.